I'm here at the site of a disaster that happened a couple of days ago. And the aftermath of this led me to a new development that I want to share with you. And I'm hoping that this saw will fit here. Yes, it does. I'm hoping that it will be of use to you. What happened here is a very large swamp maple fell here and basically destroyed two very special trees, an American chestnut here and a pawpaw over there. And it's the pawpaw that led me to some great consternation because I've been growing these pawpaws for 8 years now, and this was going to be the very first time that that one right there that has the shade over it now, the remains of it, was going to bear fruit. It had about 20 or 30 pawpaws on it, and I was so excited. I was finally, for the first time in my life, going to taste a pawpaw, and it happened to be one that I grew. And then fate stepped in, and I'm here now cleaning up the mess left over from this fallen maple that destroyed the pawpaw and knocked all the fruits off of it. Not just the fruits, but the branches that they were growing on. That was a big tree. So when that happened, and forgive me for a moment while I'm going to try to multitask, to try to do some of this cleaning as I speak. In the aftermath of that, I was not too happy, I guess you could say. And I gave myself a moment to embrace the feeling of unhappiness, of disappointment, of loss, because now I'm going to be waiting. I'm hoping that the next tree down the line that's not as big, maybe it will have some pawpaws next year, because all hope is gone for this one. If I can even bring it back to life at all, it'll probably be many years before it produces fruit again. And I'm not getting any younger, and so I just said to myself, will I live long enough to eat a pawpaw that I grew? And it's a funny thing that happens when we find ourselves in such a position. Not so much about the whether or not we'll live long enough to eat one of these pawpaws, which is a good question, but that notwithstanding, forgetting about the specifics, the frogs know what it's all about. It's that idea of loss. What does that mean? What does it mean to lose something? Let's think about this. You can only lose something if you thought that you possessed it to begin with. See where I'm going? See where I'm coming from? And so, an interesting thing happened when I stopped for a split second to look at the big picture about this talking monkey who felt the loss of that tree, of the fruit that it was going to bear. And when taking that into account, suddenly I didn't feel the loss anymore. In fact, quite the opposite. Because, do I need to explain this? I don't think so. I'll let you figure that one out for yourself. Because the goal here is not for me to tell you what to do or how to think or what to see or anything else. If there is anything of that sort, it would just be to maybe give you some hints about what to, not to what to think, because it's not about thinking. Thinking isn't going to help. Thinking is the problem. It's when we think that something belongs to us, and it doesn't matter what that thing is, because it's not about the thing. It's about the thought. And it's about what happens when we take thinking, when we take our thoughts too seriously. Because here's a question for you. What is it exactly that motivates your thinking? Not just yours, but anyone's. What is it that motivates thought? I want you to think about that. And if we look at it through that lens, the question that I just asked, what is it that motivated me to ask you that question? Think about that. What do I get out of it? Nothing. Except maybe the small chance that someone is going to see what it is that I'm talking about. And maybe, as a result, be able to see a little more clearly what's going on in your own head. What is it that's motivating those thoughts? What is it that gives us these ideas that something belongs to us and that we should feel the loss of something that never belonged to anyone? And that applies equally to the frogs and to the wren and to the hawk that you may not have heard because I was speaking while she whistled. She's sitting right up there watching. It's a beautiful thing. It's such an amazing thing that this year she's nesting right over there. And I'm right behind the house. I'm in the so-called backyard here where it drops down to the pond, where I have my pawpaws. 2.1. I'm really hoping that that one's going to survive. We're supposed to get some rain later today. But right now, equally important to the rain, actually a little more important, is the fact that it's overcast. Because I've been watering and watering and watering that tree since it happened. I can keep watering it. But the real problem is when we have really hot, sunny days. Yesterday, I don't know what the date was, the 3rd, I think, of June, here in Long Point, the temperature was over 30 degrees Celsius, and the sun was just scorching. And so even though I had the shade, which is partially off of it right now, it didn't matter because it was so hot that even without the sun, it was burning that tree. And so the lower branch looks like it's dead now. If you saw this video, the sister video to this one that you're watching now on my other channel, then you'll see what I'm talking about. At any rate, when I thought about thought and realized that, and here is something that's worth saying, and that is that when thought itself is motivated by reaction, the reaction to the loss of that pawpaw tree, of the fruit especially on the pawpaw tree, when I realized that unbelievably, isn't it just so obvious when I point it out like that? That I was being selfish. Oh, I'm going to die before I eat a pawpaw. So what? We're all going to die anyways. What difference does it make whether I got to eat a pawpaw before I died? What difference does that make to the universe? I just realized that as I throw these things, I'm probably making a horrible noise because the phone is in my pocket. Oh well. So you see, that feeling of the loss is pure reaction. It's just reacting to a perceived event. And if we can be aware of what's going on in our own minds, the bluebird is kind of pissed off at me for some reason. Well, actually, I know what the reason is. It's because this little sort of line of trees here that starts with the chestnuts and switches to the pawpaws and then goes to persimmons. This is like this beautiful buffer zone between the upper backyard and the lower backyard. And they love, all the insectivores love to land in these trees to pick up insects in this little zone, as I see one that you'll never see because it's too small. Taking off of the chestnut, the remains of the chestnut that got knocked down also, but it's in better shape than the pawpaw. Sorry about all that. I'm just listening to the bluebird, his beautiful song. That's actually him saying that he's pissed off at me. I'm starting to understand bluebird. It's not that hard to pick up, actually, if you spend enough time around them. But that's the thing. He's reacting. He is reacting to my presence in what he thinks of as his, you see? He thinks that this is his territory and that I'm impinging on his territory. And so you see the lowest, dumbest life form. And he's not the lowest nor the dumbest. But if we just extrapolate down, it's the same. It's all the same. Right now, these insects are buzzing around me for the very same reason. Because they think that my blood is their possession and that they want to bite me to get at their blood that I'm holding for them. I'm holding their blood for them. So you see, it's ubiquitous. And if the dumbest mosquito thinks that way, do you want to think that way? Do you want to be like a mosquito? Or a bluebird? Or a frog? Or a Canada goose? See what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm seeing? Because at the end of the day, it's not about thinking, and it's not about talking. It's not about reacting. It's not about feeling. It's not about worrying. It's not about fear. It's just about seeing. See everything you can. And you may just find I might as well finish the job since I'm so close now. I was going to give you my silly little closing line there that I don't even know what it's going to be. But basically, in a nutshell, when I saw how I was reacting to the loss of the pawpaw, the loss, all I had to do was see. To see what was going on. To see what was motivating me. To see the reality. And suddenly, instantly, there was no more loss. There was no more sadness. There was no more anxiety or worry about whether or not I'm ever going to eat a pawpaw before I die. That's probably, that death idea is probably because I've got a birthday coming up soon, and 60's coming up fast, baby. But you know what they say? 60 is the new 20.